Shirley here. Last month I graduated from State Community College. Since my parents made it quite evident from day one that they would not be able to support me financially, I got through school on a full scholarship, which was fortunate. That was good by me. I didn't want to be a liability. I therefore started working at The Grind, a coffee shop close to university, and stayed there during 4 years of college. When my previous phone died, I saved enough to get a new phone and a great laptop for school. Still, seeing my parents assist my older sister Janet every time she came disturbed me. 5 years of marriage to her husband Greg have produced 2 children, Tommy, 4, and little Sarah, who just turned 2. My parents would sneak Janet some cash whenever she visited our house carrying the children. Mom would remark, pushing cash into Janet's hand, "Here's a little something for groceries." Dad said, grabbing for his wallet, "Buy those children some new clothes." When we were by ourselves in the kitchen, I eventually confronted Mom about it after this happened 3 times in a month. "How come you folks help Janet out with money, but you've never offered to help me with anything?" I asked, trying not to let the hurt color my voice. Mom's face stiffened. "Janet has kids she has to look for, Shirley. All you have is yourself. Discussion ends here." When graduation day arrived at last, my parents hosted a celebration at our house. Though I knew they would only use it as another chance to highlight their exemplary parenting, I should have been content. Mother said, "We'll handle everything. You just pay attention to savoring your big day." Later I learned handing everything meant paying for the party with the $500 I had been saving for 2 months. They invited every family and friend from church, and they stayed late absorbing accolades. "You too have done such a great job with both of your daughters," my Aunt Marge said. "The way you help them is just fantastic," said a buddy of Dad's from the office. Biting my tongue to prevent from telling them all the truth, I stood there grinning falsely. My Uncle Pete caught me by the punch bowl at the conclusion of the party as others were beginning to depart. "So, Shirley, what is next for you?" he inquired. "Got any plans now that you'd have that degree?" "I'm going to rent my own apartment and start working," I remarked. Mom swooped in before I could get going, encircling my shoulders with her arm. "Oh, Shirley doesn't need to hurry into renting," she added in that lovely voice she used to wow people. "She can stay here for now, save on rent." Surprised, I turned to study her. First I had heard of this deal. "That's so generous of you, Linda," Uncle Pete said to Mom. "Rent is through the roof these days. It's so hard for young people to get started." The next morning at breakfast, Mom and Dad brought it up again. "We meant what we said last night," Dad said, buttering his toast. "You can stay here while you're looking for work. No need to waste money on rent right now." "Oh, thanks," I said. "I'll think about it." And I did think about it. While job hunting, I sent out dozens of resumes and got a position at Merchant Trading Company pretty quickly. It was entry-level work, mostly data entry and answering phones, but it was a start. The problem was my starting salary of $2,800 a month wouldn't get me the kind of apartment I wanted. Everything in my price range was way out in the suburbs, which would mean a 2 to 3 hour commute each way. Meanwhile, my parents' house was a 15-minute walk from my new office. After crunching the numbers, I reluctantly told my parents I'd stay with them for a while. "That's wonderful, honey," Mom said, giving me a hug that felt genuine for once. For about 2 weeks after I started my new job, things were different. Mom made my favorite meals. Dad asked about my day when I got home. I actually started to think maybe they'd finally begun to appreciate me. Then I got my first paycheck. "Surely we need to talk," Dad said that evening at dinner. Mom nodded in agreement. "We're happy to have you here," Mom began, "but you're a working adult now." "That's right," Dad continued. "So we expect you to contribute $400 a month for rent and another $200 for food." I nearly choked on my meatloaf. $600 a month. That's more than 20% of my take-home pay. That seems kind of steep, I said carefully. It's far less than you'd pay for your own place, Mom pointed out, and it includes utilities. I couldn't argue with that. Okay, I agreed. I can manage that. And so began my new routine. I worked Monday through Friday, paid my rent on the first of each month, and tried to save whatever I could from what was left. I wasn't building my savings as quickly as I'd hoped, but at least the balance was going up instead of down. For a few months, things were stable, not great, but manageable. Then, one evening in October, I came home from work to find the living room packed with suitcases. Janet was sitting on the couch, looking annoyed. Greg was pacing back and forth. Tommy was running in circles around the coffee table, and Sarah was crying in my mother's arms. "What's going on?" I asked, setting down my purse. Janet looked up at me with a scowl. "Greg got demoted," she said flatly. "We can't afford our apartment anymore. We're moving in until things get better." I forced a smile, but inside I was screaming. This was not going to end well for me. I could feel it. My predictions about Janet moving in were spot on. Within days, my life turned into a nightmare. Janet didn't work. She stayed home all day with the kids, supposedly taking care of them. But as soon as I walked through the door after work, she'd be grabbing her purse. "Oh, good, you're home," she'd say, already halfway out the door. "Tommy needs help with his coloring book, and Sarah just woke up from her nap." Before I could respond, she'd be gone, dragging Greg along to meet friends or go shopping. Sometimes they wouldn't come back until after the kids were asleep. The first few times I didn't mind. I love my niece and nephew despite everything. But after 2 weeks of this routine, I was exhausted. I'd work all day, then come home to babysit until bedtime. My own chores, laundry, meal prep for the next day, even showering, got pushed to late at night when I was already dead on my feet. One evening at dinner, I finally spoke up. "I can't keep watching the kids every night," I said, pushing my food around on my plate. "I'm really tired after work." The table went silent. Then Janet scoffed. "Are you serious right now?" she said. "You think you're tired? Try being a mom." Dad put down his fork. "Surely family helps family. That's what we do." I looked at them incredulously. "Then why don't you guys watch the kids sometimes?" Mom shook her head. "We're too old to be chasing after little ones all evening." For the next month, nothing changed. I kept babysitting, kept working, kept paying my rent. My savings account, which I'd been so proud of, stayed stagnant. Then, about 2 months after Janet and her family moved in, Mom and Dad dropped another bomb at dinner. "Surely," Dad began in his serious voice, "we need to increase your rent. Our expenses have gone up with more people in the house. We're asking for an additional $200 a month." I nearly choked. $800 a month? That's almost a third of my paycheck. "It's still cheaper than renting your own place," Dad pointed out. I looked around the table at my sister and her husband. How much are Janet and Greg paying? Silence. Mom and Janet exchanged a quick glance. "Your sister can't afford to pay rent right now," Mom finally said firmly. "She has a family to support. You're single with no responsibilities. You need to help out more." Something inside me snapped, but I held it together. "I see," was all I said. That night, I started searching online for apartments near my work. The cheapest decent one-bedroom was $1,500 a month, plus utilities. With my current salary, it would be tight, but I could make it work if I was careful. The problem was the upfront costs, first and last month's rent, security deposit. I'd need at least $4,000 to move in. I decided to hunker down and save aggressively. No more coffee shop visits, no more takeout lunches, no more new clothes. Every spare penny would go into my escape fund. But the universe, or more accurately, my family, had other plans. A week later, the washing machine broke down. Mom came to my room that night, looking apologetic. "Surely. I hate to ask, but we need a new washing machine. With 5 adults and 2 kids in the house, we can't go to the laundromat. Could you lend us some money? We'll pay you back, I promise." I spent $700 on a new washing machine, not top of the line, but decent. A month later, when I mentioned the loan to Mom, her expression changed instantly. "Are you really asking your parents to pay you back?" she said, eyes narrowing. "After everything we've done for you." "But you said—" "I can't believe how ungrateful you've become," she interrupted. "We raised you, fed you, put a roof over your head." I retreated, feeling like I'd been slapped. So much for that money. The hits kept coming. Next, it was the living room furniture, destroyed by Tommy and Sarah. Crayon on the sofa, juice spilled on the armchair, mysterious tears in the upholstery. "Thanksgiving is coming up," Dad reminded me. "The whole family will be here. We can't let them see the living room like this." Another $1,200 gone. Then it was a new coffee maker, $150, a microwave oven, $200, and a dishwasher, $500. Each purchase was supposedly urgent. Each one promised to be the last thing they'd ever ask for. My savings dwindled instead of growing toward my $4,000 goal. My account balance was shrinking. Every time I checked it, my heart sank a little more. Then December arrived, bringing cold weather and a new crisis. "The roof is leaking," Dad announced one morning. "If we don't fix it before spring, the whole house could flood when the rains come." "How much will it cost?" I asked, already knowing where this was going. "About $3,000, Mom said. "We know it's a lot, but it's urgent." $3,000, almost everything I had left. But what choice did I have? It was their house, but it was my home too, at least for now. "Fine," I said, writing them a check with a shaking hand. "But I really can't afford any more big expenses." "Of course, honey," Mom said soothingly. "This is the last thing, I promise." Dad nodded. "We'll get the contractor out here next week." But the contractor never came. When I asked about it, Dad mumbled something about scheduling difficulties. Mom changed the subject whenever I brought it up. Then came the Saturday morning that changed everything. I woke up late, enjoying my day off, and wandered downstairs to find suitcases by the front door. Mom, Dad, Janet, Greg, and the kids were bustling around, packing the car. "What's going on?" I asked, still half asleep. Mom looked startled to see me. "Oh, good morning, sweetie. We're going on a little trip." "A trip? Where?" "Florida," Dad said cheerfully. "Our friends have a guest house there. We're staying for 2 weeks through Christmas." "Where did you get the money for a Florida vacation?" I asked, though I already knew the answer. Mom at least had the decency to look guilty. "We used the roof money. We'll save up again for repairs after the holidays." My vision blurred with anger. "You mean my money? The $3,000 I gave you for an emergency roof repair?" "Now, surely," Dad said in his warning tone, "don't make a scene." But I was beyond caring. "I gave you that money because you said it was urgent. I've been giving you money for months, while I pointed at Janet and Greg, who were pretending not to listen. "Live here for free." "If you don't have enough money," Mom said coldly, "then you need to work harder. Maybe get a second job." "Yeah," Janet chimed in. "That's what adults do when they need more money." And just like that, they left. All of them. Leaving me alone in the big empty house with a leaking roof and a breaking heart. After they drove away, I sat at the kitchen table for what felt like hours. The house was quiet for the first time in months. No kids screaming, no Janet complaining, no parents guilting me into something. Just silence. In that silence, everything became clear. This would never stop. They would keep taking and taking until there was nothing left of me, not my money, not my energy, not my self-respect. I pulled out my phone and scrolled through my contacts until I found Lisa, my friend from work. She had mentioned a few weeks ago that her sister was looking for a roommate. "Hey, Lisa," I said when she answered. "Is your sister still looking for someone to share her apartment? Can I get her number?" Lisa's sister Megan lived in an apartment just 2 blocks from my office. Perfect location, reasonable rent. I called her immediately. "Lisa told me all about you," Megan said after I introduced myself. "She says you're super reliable and clean. I'd be happy to have you as a roommate." The next morning, I called a moving company and booked them for same-day service. Then I walked through the house, making a list of everything I'd purchased with my own money: the washing machine, the living room furniture, the coffee maker, the microwave, the dishwasher. "Hello," I said when the moving company answered. "I need to move some furniture and appliances today. Yes, it's somewhat urgent." They arrived 2 hours later. By evening, everything I'd bought was installed in Megan's apartment. She was thrilled. "This is amazing," she said, running her hand over the new sofa. "My place was so empty before." "Glad it works out," I said, arranging my clothes in my new closet. That night I slept better than I had in months, maybe years. My new room was small but clean, with a window overlooking a little courtyard. More importantly, it was mine for the next 2 days. I went to work, came home to my new apartment, and enjoyed the peace. I didn't tell my parents I'd moved out. What would be the point? Then, 2 days before Christmas, my phone buzzed with a text from Mom. "We'll be home tomorrow afternoon. Please have dinner ready. Nothing fancy, just something warm." I laughed out loud. They still thought I was their personal chef, maid, and ATM. The next day, I left work early and went back to my parents' house one last time. I ordered food from a cheap Italian place nearby: pasta, salad, garlic bread. I set it all out on the dining table, which was now the only piece of furniture in the living room. I even put out plates and silverware. Then I left, locking the door behind me with the key I would never use again. The next morning, Christmas Eve, I woke up to a barrage of missed calls and angry texts. From Dad: "Where is all the furniture? Call me now." From Mom: "What have you done? Call me immediately." From Janet: "You are such a selfish bastard. Mom is crying because of you." I silenced my phone and made myself a cup of coffee in the new coffee maker. At 10:00 a.m., after breakfast and a shower, I finally called Mom. She answered on the first ring. "Shirley, what is going on? You can't just take things from our house." "I didn't take anything that wasn't mine," I said calmly. "I paid for all of it. Check your credit card statements if you don't believe me." "But where are you?" "I moved out. I found a place closer to work." There was a pause. Then Mom's voice softened from angry to pleading. "Honey, come home. Let's talk about this. Christmas is tomorrow. We're family. We should be together." "Family doesn't exploit each other," I said. "Family doesn't take $3,000 for an emergency roof repair and spend it on a vacation to Florida." "We made a mistake," Mom admitted. "We'll pay you back. Just come home for Christmas." I almost wavered. Almost. Then I heard Janet's voice in the background. "Tell her we need money for the roof repair now." And just like that, my resolve hardened again. "I won't be coming back," I said. "Not for Christmas. Not ever. And I won't be giving you any more money." "But the roof is not my problem," I finished for her. "You own the house. You figure it out." "You ungrateful." Mom started, but I cut her off. "Goodbye, Mom. Merry Christmas." I hung up and blocked their numbers. All of them. Mom, Dad, Janet, even Greg. Then I turned off my phone completely and went for a long walk around my new neighborhood. The next day was Christmas. Megan had gone to her parents' house for the holiday, so I had the apartment to myself. I made a nice breakfast, watched Christmas movies, and ordered Chinese food for dinner. People might think it sounds sad, spending Christmas alone, but it wasn't. For the first time in years, I felt at peace. No one was taking advantage of me. No one was making me feel bad about myself. No one was draining my bank account or my energy. 6 months have passed since I moved out of my parents' house. 6 months of peace, of saving money, of building a life that's truly mine. Living with Megan has been great. We get along well, split the chores fairly, and respect each other's space. On weekends, we sometimes cook dinner together or binge-watch shows, but there's no obligation, no guilt trips if I want to spend the evening alone in my room. Last month, my cousin Rachel called me. "I thought you might want to know," she said hesitantly. "Your parents had to take out a loan to fix the roof." I wasn't surprised. "How do you know?" "Your mom told my mom. She made it sound like they're struggling because you abandoned them." Rachel paused. I told my mom what really happened. "I hope that's okay." "It's more than okay," I said. "Thank you." Rachel also mentioned that Janet and her family were still living with my parents, but things had changed. Mom and Dad had started charging them rent and making them contribute to groceries. Work has been going well. 2 months ago, I was assigned to lead a small project team, and I knocked it out of the park. Yesterday, my boss called me into her office. "Surely I've been impressed with your work," she said. "We're creating a new assistant manager position in the department, and I want you to apply for it." "Really? That would be amazing," I said, trying to contain my excitement. "The salary would be $48,000 a year," she continued. "That's a significant bump from what I'm making now, a $10,000 raise. With that kind of money, I could get my own place sooner than I'd planned. That night, I started browsing apartment listings online. Nothing too fancy, just a small one-bedroom within walking distance of work. I found a few in my price range, all with June or July availability. Perfect timing if I get the promotion. Last weekend, I was shopping at Target when I saw them. Mom, Dad, and Janet pushing a cart down the home goods aisle. I ducked behind a display, but not before Janet spotted me. We made eye contact for a brief second before she nudged Mom and pointed in my direction. Mom glanced over, then deliberately turned her cart and went the other way. Dad followed without looking back. It stung a little, I won't lie. But then I remembered all those months of exploitation, all that money they took from me. And the sting faded. They made their choice, and I made mine. My life is just beginning, and for the first time it truly feels like mine.